Imagine waking up one day and thinking, enough. Today, I'm going to change. Not change everything at once. Nothing heroic. Just start. Go to bed earlier. Focus a little more. Stop postponing things. It sounds simple, almost obvious. You even feel a certain relief, like something is finally lining up. But what almost no one realizes is that the exact moment this decision appears, something invisible starts moving inside your mind. It's not inspiration. It's not motivation. It's an entire system waking up. On the outside, nothing has changed. The world looks the same. Your room, your phone, your problems. But on the inside, your mind switches into observation mode, like someone turned on the lights in a room that's been dark for a long time. At first, everything feels calm. You feel motivated, focused, even proud of yourself. Thoughts like, "This time it's different," flow easily. This is the phase where almost everyone believes that changing their life is just a matter of deciding. And for a few hours, or even a few days, it feels true. At this early stage, your rational mind is in control. This is the part that makes plans, imagines futures, and creates mental lists. It looks ahead and sees a better version of you. More disciplined, more calm, stronger. This part assumes that once the decision is made, everything else will naturally follow. What it ignores is one important detail. This is not the only part of the mind involved. While you feel confident, another part is watching quietly. It doesn't comment. It doesn't argue. It just observes. This is the oldest, most automatic part, responsible for keeping everything running with the least amount of energy possible. It doesn't care about who you want to be in 5 years. It only cares about now, about comfort, about predictability, about avoiding unnecessary effort. And in the beginning, it lets you play with change. That's why the first moments feel easy. You cut a distraction, start a task, say no to something you used to accept. Internally, the old system doesn't see this as a threat yet. To it, this looks temporary. Just another short experiment, like so many attempts before. So it watches, waits, and saves energy. Then the first friction appears. It might be small, the urge to grab your phone, fatigue showing up earlier than expected, a task that demands more focus than you planned. This is the moment when most people think, my motivation is gone. But that's not what happened. What ended was the testing phase. Now your automatic mind steps in, not aggressively, but strategically. It starts offering subtle questions. Is now really the best time? You can do this later. A short break won't hurt. These thoughts don't feel like sabotage. They feel reasonable. They feel caring. And that's exactly why they work. Here's the crucial point. Your mind is not trying to stop you from growing. It's trying to protect you from an energy cost it doesn't yet consider necessary. To it, change means instability. Instability means risk. And risk means survival could be compromised. So it does what it has always done. It tries to guide you back to what's familiar. If you resist a little, the discomfort grows, not as physical pain, but as invisible weight. Focus becomes harder. Your mind starts wandering. Small distractions suddenly feel far more attractive than before. This doesn't happen because you're weak. It happens because the old system has realized this change isn't temporary. It has started taking your decisions seriously. And when that happens, negotiation ends. Resistance begins. This is where most people quit. Not because they don't want to change, but because they interpret this moment the wrong way. They feel the friction and conclude, this isn't for me. I don't have discipline. This never works for me. But what they're feeling isn't failure. It's transition. Inside your mind, two forces are competing for control. On one side, the part that wants to grow, improve, evolve. On the other, the part that wants to keep everything predictable and safe. Neither one is evil. Neither one is wrong. The problem starts when you try to win this battle using force. The more you pressure yourself, the more energy you burn. The more you blame yourself, the more the old system interprets change as dangerous. Growth becomes associated with stress, tension, and loss of comfort. And every time that happens, your mind learns something new. Change hurts. Change drains you. Change is unsafe. So the next time you try, resistance shows up even sooner. But there's a point almost no one notices. If you move through this phase without fighting yourself, something starts to shift quietly. Not a burst of motivation, not a surge of willpower, a reorganization. When the automatic mind realizes that the change is not draining energy chaotically, that it's predictable, repeatable, and not threatening your stability, it starts to soften, not because you defeated it, but because it recalculated. Effort stops being seen as danger and starts being seen as a new baseline. That's why, after a while, what once felt impossible starts to feel normal. Not easy, but stable. You no longer feel that internal war every time you act. The urge to quit still exists, but it's weaker, quieter. The mind doesn't need to scream to pull you back anymore because it understands this new behavior is part of the system. This is the moment when people think they finally became disciplined. But discipline didn't suddenly appear. What happened was a mode switch. Your mind moved from resistance mode into adaptation mode. And here's the most important part. This process doesn't happen fast or slow. It happens at the speed of repetition without drama. Every time you act, despite discomfort, without attacking yourself, without humiliating yourself, without turning it into an internal war, you send a clear signal to the system. This is safe. This is consistent. This can stay. When that signal repeats enough times, the mind stops sabotaging. Not because you became stronger, but because it stopped seeing change as a threat. Life starts to shift, not when you push harder, but when you stop fighting how your mind actually works. Then the real turning point happens, not when you feel motivated, but when you act without feeling anything special. No excitement, no intense resistance, just action. Simple, almost boring. That's when change locks in. You didn't become a different person. You didn't magically transform. You just stopped triggering internal alarms every time you tried to evolve. The system adjusted, the mind reorganized, and what once required conscious effort now runs almost on autopilot. If you've tried to change before and felt something inside pulling you back, that wasn't failure. That was the process. If you quit at that point, it wasn't because you can't do it. It's because no one ever explained what was happening inside you. And now that you understand this, you might start looking at your past attempts differently. Not as proof of weakness, but as signs that you reach the exact point where most people stop. The point where change stops being exciting and starts being real. If this helped you understand something about yourself that was never clear before, hit like. It tells the algorithm you enjoy thoughtful content like this. And tell me in the comments, which part of the process creates the most resistance for you right now? If you want to keep exploring how your mind works when you try to grow, subscribe to the channel. There's much more happening inside you than it seems.